Zach.
It's here we are.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm Granby. Absolutely wonderful. Trying to think of a better word than that, but sometimes when I'm doing that app that you and the wife told me about, and I'm trying to think of a word, and I just butcher them crazy. Do you feel like you're smarter now because of that app? Elevate?
I do. Yeah, I do. Vocabulary is one that, I am much, much better at math and that aspect. The vocabulary, spelling, really, that's where that's the biggest challenge I have for me. But generally, anything that I know that I can look up, if there's a spell check or whatever, I don't spend a ton of brain cells and brain cycles to try to remember that kind of stuff, just because it's just readily available for me to get the right answer.
Same. So you would type like a simple word
synonym. Yeah.
So you would type in simple
spelling by far is my worst.
Oh yeah, dude. Sometimes it picks up the things. I'm like, that's not what I said. That's not the autocorrect that I wanted, or just the phone in general autocorrects. I'm like, no, like that word was. I don't even know what that word means. So why are we autocorrected? It's very odd how the robots change things.
Well, I just know that for me, it's a mental exercises is super important part to keep your brain fresh. And you and I, we stay pretty physically active, so I think it's super important to keep your brain active and do some exercises from that standpoint as well.
Well, they call it a workout on the thing. So
yeah, I mean, they say that you in one like in a chess match, like you can burn as many calories as like a half marathon or a full marathon. It's some crazy thing.
Okay, I don't believe that. Like, why do you? A chess match burns the same calories as a half marathon?
It's your brain consumes 20% of your energy. I'm sure Emmanuel can look that up.
I would love for him to, and I want today's guest to give her feedback on that. Jeana, do you think that if you were to play a game of chess, it would be the same as running a half marathon? Look, we have a lot of chess players playing then. Come on.
If I was in a chess match, I would probably be sweating so much that I would burn as much as running a half marathon, because chess is not my strength. I don't know. That's an interesting fact. I'm going to look it up after this.
I've Emmanuel's. He will make it right, but it is a lot of energy though that is consumed. I know. I mean, like for me, I think that like whenever I'm listening to pitches and that kind of thing from founders, I mean, it's like just the art of active listening, I think is exhausting. I mean, when I'm done, I'm really, really tired.
All right, well, we'll figure this out. Jeana, have you ever run a half marathon before?
All right, what is Grandmaster? Grandmasters can burn up to 6,000 calories a day during intense tournaments.
Wow.
The entire day.
That is more than.
That's more than your 2,000 calories of,
That is 3 days worth of,
That 2,000 calorie intake they're like the biggest.
All that stuff is garbage.
BS meter. Like, no.
But how many calories do you burn? Emmanuel, can you look that up? How many calories do you burn running a half marathon, an average runner? I don't know.
I burn about 150 calories a mile, 150, 160.
So in 13 miles, you would burn.
Well, when I did that last race with you, Tim, I think I burned like 4,000 calories. And you saw it afterwards. It was like I jumped into a pool. Have you ever run a half marathon, Jeana?
I have, yeah. I ran the rock and roll marathon in San Diego. That was many years ago. I was much faster back then.
What was your best time?
Oh my goodness, it was not good. It was over a decade ago. I don't even remember. It was not a good time though. When I say faster, I mean just physically able to complete a marathon.
An actual marathon?
Yes,
well,
yes.
Goodness, good for you. Yeah. Good for you.
1,100 to 1,600 calories for a half marathon.
Well, that's a lie for me. I'm at least triple that. Well, this is an exciting day. How did you guys meet? Seems like you guys have at least had some sort of conversation in the
So
past.
we met at a rooftop event at Assembly.
Okay.
Yes.
And I can't remember, but I was like, gosh, because you're currently going through 757 Accelerate.
That's right.
And I know that, I don't know, I know that it was an interesting exchange, because you're on my list of people to contact. I don't know, or something.
It was
You
the
had
day
applied
before. It was the day before the Startup World Cup, and I had applied to pitch, and then we met, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I saw your application come through." I did not make the top 10 cut, but that's okay. I still got to.
Yeah.
Did you attend? Did you attend?
I did. I got to do my
Yeah,
1 minute pitch. I was the one that made you go all the way up the stairs to the top of the stadium so I could do my 1 minute pitch.
Honestly, got it. And then the mics didn't work.
Yeah.
And the mic didn't work, so I had to talk really loud. Yeah.
If it makes you feel better, I don't really remember much about that night. Like, we were scattering left and right the whole time. A lot of chaos backstage. Yeah, it just.
We couldn't tell.
It
went off really well from the audience perspective. Everything went
well,
off.
just the people crashing the stage, people throwing knives.
The knife throwing, that was crazy. That was awesome. She had a great pitch.
She did.
But I looked at the person next to me. I said, "Did she just throw her knife?" Yeah.
Yes, she is. I still have it. Props. Like,
awesome.
I don't know.
Memorable pitch.
A little fishy. I mean, yeah, that was and then apparently it was a former governor. Are they former governor or the governor? I don't like of Virginia. I'm like, I didn't know that until the next day. Like, there's so many things that I learned like 24 hours later that I'm just like, oh
yeah, you guys drew a great crowd. There was like an awesome, I mean, the people, the type of people, the caliber of people that were in the audience. It was a really, really, really great event. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that in some regards, I think that we're still recovering. At least me and I don't know, James or Emmanuel. It was a lot of work that went into that, and it was pretty exhausting. So to some degree, there's still a little recovery that's going on, but we're also getting ready for our next events, and the show continues and it never stops. So
awesome.
All for you. And I appreciate you being such a good sport and stepping up to do the 60-second pitch. That was an element that a lot of people didn't expect, and they really appreciated.
It was fun. And I really appreciate that you guys provided the platform that I could pitch in front of all those people. So it was awesome.
I did hear word that, and it'll be interesting to know, apparently there was 60-second pitches that were introduced at the main event in San Francisco that just happened October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So I'm curious if they've always done that, or if that was something that they added in. I suspect it was something they added in, but who knows?
Should have had that IP taken care of. Okay, so I don't remember your pitch. I don't even know, even though I had a microphone up to you at that point. Like I said, I don't remember. I didn't see a single. So other than the ones, off stage, I guess, I didn't see a single pitch on the stage. The microphone was working during all of the politicians' talks, and then for whatever reason, it turned off afterwards. Would have been nice if it was the reverse of that. So we couldn't hear any pitch in the backstage. So if you want to give us a quick little rundown of. All right.
Yes. So ALN Technology is our company, and ReplyAI is our platform, and it's an AI-based software solution targeted for semiconductor manufacturing and distribution companies. It really focuses on the support and service of tier 3 clients so that their sales and customer service teams can allocate their best energy, focus, and resources to supporting their tier 1 clients that are really driving, on average, 65% of these companies' revenue comes from their tier 1 clients. But that means that 35% of their revenue is coming from this long tail of customers that's really challenging and really expensive to support. And so our software has customizable business logic combined with natural language processing we can provide automated quotes, answer questions, typical customer service questions that come in. The possibilities are really endless. And this is what we're seeing as we get more customers, different applications, and how people want to use the platform. But this is really, in the semiconductor industry alone last year, $84 billion was lost in the inability or the lack of efficiency in supporting these tier 3 customers. So there's a huge revenue opportunity for the customers and the companies that we work with that use our platform.
All right.
Who would be like the perfect customer for you? And like, can you walk us through like that, what that customer journey looks like through like a story?
Absolutely. Yes. So a perfect customer. So I spent the last decade in the semiconductor industry working with the manufacturers and the distributors. And so the whole concept for the platform, and when I built it to address the specific problem of the length of time it takes for distribution companies to get quotes in the hands of their customers. And so the perfect customer is sort of this medium-sized distribution company that has a high number of customer inquiries, but their resources are limited. So in terms of the customer journey, it's really about identifying how you can best optimize, automate, and add intelligence in your quote and customer service process. So the other services that the platform can provide is answering technical questions. So a lot of times engineers or purchasing teams, they have questions about how the parts function, or maybe logistics questions on shipment time, lead time, things like this. So all of that data can be provided through the system in an autonomous and intelligent way. And so our integration time right now takes anywhere between 2 to 3 months, depending on the complexity of the customer systems. But we integrate with all existing ERP and CRM systems. So there's no need for our customers to change any of the software that they're already using. We integrate with NetSuite, with Microsoft Dynamics, with SAP. And so it's a pretty quick and easy, up and running process from the initial kickoff to when they have a product that's working.
Okay. What is a semiconductor?
Okay, let's back up. A semiconductor. So in your computer, in the camera that's on your screen, in your cell phone, if you break it open, you have a green PCB board that's full of little tiny, chips. Those are the semiconductors. So they manage power distribution. They're the microprocessors, the brains of the computers, the phones. Anything that turns on, anything with an on switch has a semiconductor in it.
Tim, did you know that before she explained it the first time you heard it, or am I just?
Well, I think that it's good to level set. I was thinking, like for me, I was more thinking along the lines of like Apple with their M1, 2, 3, 4 chips, Intel, NVIDIA, that kind of thing. But
absolutely. So a company like Apple, a company like NVIDIA. So NVIDIA makes, the AI processing chips. Apple makes the phones, but Apple is getting into the semiconductor business in that they're making their own microprocessor. They used to buy a lot of Qualcomm chips. So Qualcomm is a semiconductor manufacturer. Intel is a semiconductor manufacturer, although they do end products as well, like the laptops and the things like that. So.
Is tier 3 bad or good? Like, where is the tier 3 level in this?
So tier 3 it's not bad or good. It's really important to our clients' overall revenue and how they conduct business. So most companies, they engage with a small number of really important clients that are going to buy tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of components from them. So an Apple, is a great example of a tier 1 client. So if Apple is your customer, they are a tier 1 client. They're really, really important. And you have really talented salespeople and customer service teams to support them. And then you have customers that maybe are making something that they're only going to make you know what? A great example would be a military type customer. So military customers typically build 10 to 100 of something really large every year. So they need their 10 components or their 100 components. And it's really important that they're supported promptly and with accuracy. But you as a distributor or a manufacturer don't have whole sales teams that can support thousands of these different customers that are only going to buy 10 components from you a year. So when we reference, tier 3 clients, it's not that they're less important. It's just that there's more of them, and each individual purchase is going to be a lower number than somebody like a tier 1 client.
So in a sense, it's almost like an automated broker for.
Not a broker. So broker in the semiconductor industry has a really specific connotation.
Oh, really?
So there's what we are is we're a service enablement platform so that these distributors and manufacturers can best support all of their customers. All it is it's an additional sales and operational tool for their team to utilize to best support their customers. So, but in a nutshell, what does it do? So what it's doing is it's taking the information from the company's ERP system, or where their internal business data lies, where their customer data lies, where their logistics information lie. We connect with that system and use that data to populate and respond to customer questions in an automated fashion. And if it's not a question that can be responded to automatically. So when I say automatically, that's within 2 seconds. So a question that historically could have taken a week or 2 weeks to get an answer to, now you can get an answer in 2 to 5 seconds. And if it's not a good candidate for an automated response, it will draft the response and send it to your sales team so that they have all of the information that they need to respond to that customer. And then they can manage it or wordsmith it in the way that they need to. But then they can be more effective and respond quicker because they have the data right in front of them.
I like the term wordsmith.
It's one of my favorites.
Okay, so if I hear this right, so this is really level 3, right? So there's a 2 in there as well, right? Okay, so level 1, tier 1, tier 2 clients, really big, really needy, have to have human touch to it. Level 3, lots of them. A lot of them are asking the same question, could have some sort of automated answer for them in a quicker way so that your sales team doesn't, or your customer service team doesn't have to be super big. Exactly. This tool, ReplyAI, can do it for you. Got it. See, all we had to do is spend 17 minutes and 40 seconds to figure this out. Okay, gotta ask questions. Okay.
Yeah. So all that said, what is the backstory? How did you find out that this was a problem that needed to be solved that led you to taking this on?
So I spent the last 10 years as a manufacturer's rep in the semiconductor industry, and I worked quite extensively with different manufacturers and different distributors. And one of my biggest frustrations was when I had a customer that finished their design, they were ready to produce and sell their phone or their laptop or their end device, and they needed to get a quote from distribution. And depending on how important they were to distribution, whether they fell under a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 client, it could take up to 2 weeks for them to get a response. And for them and for me, it didn't matter where they purchased from. They just needed the price so that they could move forward and buy their component. And they needed a competitive price. So some parts are available on e-commerce sites and on e-commerce type distributors, but they're 300-400% more expensive than what you get from the distributor. So it was a really frustrating problem that I personally experienced for over 10 years. And so I developed the platform to solve this problem. And so I had a transition. I lived in Southern California since 2014 and just moved out here about a year and a half ago to the Hampton Roads area. And so in this physical transition, it was a really good time to make this transition from the work that I've been doing for such a long time into, developing and selling this platform, and now, turning it into the company that it is today. So
San Diego, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So when you turned on the TV, did you watch Ron Burgundy?
Ron Burgundy is, the hometown celebrity of San Diego, right? It's he's everywhere.
Unique New York. Unique New York. Okay. What made you move here?
My husband is in the military, so he was very fortunate.
Shocker answer.
I know.
Yeah, I was hoping for something exciting, like I
No.
just don't like California anymore. But okay.
No.
They say there's some sort of parallel between San Diego and Virginia Beach. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say that the ocean front of Virginia Beach feels very similar to Mission Beach, the Mission Beach oceanfront, in that you have little surf shops. There's an ice cream store and a coffee shop every couple blocks. Everything is very tightly packed in. So I would say there are some similarities, but we like a lot of things about Hampton Roads that we like that we don't miss about San Diego, or the density of people. There's just fewer people here. You can find parking. You don't have to wait in line for gas. A lot of really exciting things. So
I'm sure it's cheaper.
It's so much cheaper. Yeah, it's awesome.
Weather in San Diego though is pretty solid. Once that morning layer burns off all year round here, it's pretty solid.
Absolutely. But I would argue that the last week here has been very similar to San Diego.
Oh yeah. Autumn is my favorite season here.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, because I think that exactly, most places don't have air conditioning in San Diego. If it gets really warm, you just go to the mall or go to a movie or something, and then by the time the movie's done, it's cooled down and you're good to go.
Really? Wow. Seriously?
You don't need it. It doesn't get and I would say especially in the beach towns, if you've got a house that's over 30 years old, it probably doesn't have air conditioning. Yeah, it's the best climate. I mean, it doesn't get hot, it doesn't get cold. It's awesome. As long as your house doesn't catch on fire, you're golden.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask. Like, what's the natural disaster that you got to worry about?
Fires, 100%. Yeah. And especially where we were before.
September is September fire season
in the hills. What's that?
Is September fire season?
It absolutely is. But I would say that there's not a season so much anymore. The fires, it's September. The fall is the fire season, but I think it's basically year round now. It's never ending.
Is San Diego the one that's right by Mexico?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we border Tijuana.
Got it.
TJ.
Never been. You guys in your little slang. Okay. You guys got it. Okay, so we got big Ron Burgundy fans. This is what I like. Okay, so what made you want to get into the world of robots? I call AI robots, and also when I see AI, I read OWL.
I love that. So the robots now.
I jokingly told the world on LinkedIn recently that I was starting an OWL company, but they thought it said AI. It's really kind of funny, actually. But what made you get into the world of robots?
So AI has already and will continue to change the world. It's changing the way we do business. And from when I started in January of this year to where AI is today, I had a customer, in our final executive meeting, the CEO said to his team, like, "Oh, why didn't you bring this to me 6 months ago?" And I said, honestly, 6 months ago, this capability didn't exist. What we're doing today, the capability did not exist 6 months before that conversation. And so things are moving so quickly. And I just was listening to an interview yesterday where he said the idea of word processing changing the way that we do business. This is sort of a similar situation where by having a word processor, that is not going to give you a strategic advantage, because within, 2 to 3 to 4 years, every company had a word processor, right? Everyone now does business using a computer. There's not a strategic advantage by using a computer. And AI is a very similar thing in that just by implementing AI today, you will have a strategic advantage over your competitors if your competitors are not using AI. But in 2 to 3 to 4 years, everyone will have to be using some form of artificial intelligence to optimize and make their businesses run more efficiently, to automate what can be automated. They will have to in order to be competitive. And so in a very short amount of time, it's not going to be a strategic advantage, but it is absolutely fundamentally changing the way that we live our lives, but specifically the way we do business. So why wouldn't I want to be in this space? It's so exciting.
Yeah.
So it's not
well,
a
especially
bubble.
I think that
It is
oh,
not.
no.
It is not a bubble. I mean, you could argue valuations of specific companies and of specific technology. I mean, I think there's a really interesting conversation around the way that AI is priced and valued, and the trillions of dollars. When you think about the trillions of dollars that are being invested in developing these large language models, and right now you can use OpenAI, ChatGPT for free. Llama is free, right? And then if you exceed a certain usage in ChatGPT, you start to get charged, but it's such a minimal amount. So you really have to look at how these companies long-term are going to generate revenue to pay back these trillions of dollars that it costs to get the technology where it is today. And so you have to look at it like an infrastructure investment. But I would absolutely, if the discussion is that there are companies that claim to be AI that are wildly overvalued, I think that's absolutely true for the reasons I just discussed. It's not going to be a strategic advantage in a very short amount of time. But the investment really is like an infrastructure investment, in the way that I don't know, optical, underground optical cables are an infrastructure investment, right?
Right. Yeah, and there'll come to a point where, I mean, like at some point, when is there too much fiber that is laid? And the same was going to hold true with the H100s. And it's right now they can't make them fast enough. But as things get more efficient, then there's what's going to happen then, and then you can argue that bubble, may pop as well. But in the meantime, they can't make them fast enough.
Right.
Was it ChatGPT that was just valued at like $180 billion?
157. Yeah.
It's
pretty crazy.
It's crazy. And when you think of, if you look at the stock price of NVIDIA, over the last 5 years, and you can see how significantly it's increased. When you look at the valuation of these companies, it's really easy to look at that and say, oh, it's a bubble. Of course, it's not worth that much. But I think it's significantly more complex than that. It's really about looking at how is it changing the landscape of everything, but the real key is how can they monetize that. So when you look at a company like NVIDIA, it's really easy to see how they can monetize. They can monetize that because their chips are at this point invaluable. If you're building complex AI systems, you have to use NVIDIA. They don't have a competitor that that can perform in the way that they can. And again, in 3 to 4 years, I'm sure that there will be many. So that will affect their valuation. But it's such a dynamic situation that, some things are very much overvalued and some things I would argue are undervalued.
Well, especially when you have like X, Meta, Microsoft. I mean, they're investing tens of billions of dollars. Because to your point earlier, they have to make the first move, or else they're going to be left behind. And right now there's so much brokering that goes on with getting access to all of the materials. I mean, NVIDIA is just sitting; they're just sitting in the perfect spot.
Yeah.
If you would have bought that.
I don't even want to go into it, Zach, because it like haunts my dreams.
No, I didn't know that. Like, this is like,
oh yeah.
This reminds me of like my dad. Like 20 years ago, he gave my brother, my sister, and I $100 in stocks, and I wanted to buy Apple, and he was like, "Apple's not going to do anything," and so I'm pretty sure he wouldn't let me do it. Is what happened, and it would have like 80x'd at that point, $100. For like a 20-year-old kid. So I'll just tell you this, Tim. It is a 4-digit multiplier.
I know.
Yeah.
Because NVIDIA, if you look at the history of them, they were in the gaming industry, and they did chips for gaming. So like back in the day when I was in the Air Force, I was stationed in Germany, And like my whole goal when I was stationed in Germany was I'm going to bring back a BMW. I'm going to get it through military sales. I'm bringing back a BMW. And that's exactly what I did.
It
And
was
so when
that
I
car
bought
that you drove forever?
yes.
That was from Germany?
Yeah.
Breaking news.
And so the thing is, in that car, that was like the very first car that had a digital navigation screen in it. And like in NVIDIA, they made the chips for the navigation system. I mean, like, dude, this is so old school that like you put the CDs for the navigation system in the trunk. And in order to update the navigation system, you would have to buy a whole new set of CDs. And like America was broken up into 7 different CDs. So like if you crossed over one of those lines, you had to like get out and then put in the other CD so that you could have your turn by turn directions. But at that point, I knew that like this is going to change the way that this is just going to change everything. I mean, so that was I bought that car in September of 2000. And
okay, so was it a 2000 or 99 or
it was a 2001. It was a 2001.
Okay. And you had that you rode that thing hard. Like
yeah,
that
yeah,
thing
had it for 19 years.
Wow.
And how many miles did you have on it when you got rid of it?
Oh, I don't even remember. It was a lot, but
200, you think?
I think so.
Quality German engineering right there.
Did you sell it or just give it to someone? I can't remember.
No, I sold it.
That's right, Tim. Way to go.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Those the graphics, because they made the graphics card for those navigation systems, for gaming systems, and that's how they got into AI. Is the guy who was doing the development? He went to NVIDIA and said, "You are the only company that has even close to what we need. If you can do X, Y, and Z, then we can use it to build these large language, the generative, what we know today is Gen AI." And the CEO of NVIDIA is really interesting. He describes it as like, you just have to be close enough to catch the football, right? And that's how he describes that whole scenario of their technology was close enough and the closest, and it changed everything. And they have such a strategic advantage because they're so far ahead of everyone else. Yeah, it's.
I don't know that I believe that. I think it definitely depends on who's throwing the ball and who's catching it, because there's some.
That's fair.
If you can touch it, you can. If you can touch it, you should be able to catch it.
Oh, no, you sound like a Monday morning quarterback. Like, no.
That's what our football coach used to tell us.
So what are you supposed to do? It's right on the tip.
Well, I mean, granted, I'm sure that the coach was trying to get everything he could out of the players, but well, good. So that's really, really cool on you. So then, Jeana, you'll be able to you understand the problem set. You have a network of potential customers that then you can reach out to, and then you're able to leverage that.
Yeah, so the focus for the initial growth of the company is really targeted specifically in the semiconductor industry, because that's what I know. That's the problem that I understand. Those are the companies that I've worked with for many years. But the reality of the way the system works is that it could translate into any industry and solve any number of problems, of any business challenges, with the customizable logic that it has, combined with the ability, the natural language processing ability, and that's the component of AI. When I say AI in this system, it's the coming from the large language models, the natural language processing ability. But it's so that's for long-term sustained growth of the company. That's the trajectory beyond 2027. From now until 2027, we're going to stay very focused in the semiconductor industry, and beyond 2027, we're going to start to expand into other industries.
You could make the argument that on August 28th, it really was a fashion show, where many people were on stage wearing certain things. Some of us had wardrobe changes.
Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah, then the next day I find out the freaking AC died. So like it really was hot up there. You have this creative outlet of formerly putting on fashion shows. How did you think our wardrobes were that night? Were you sitting there as like someone like, like these guys are clowns, like, or is it pot? Like just your general thoughts on that. And then Tim and I wear black t-shirts basically every show. We sprinkle in a couple other things every once in a while, but yeah, you know what? As a fashionista, what would be your what would you tell us to do to make it a little better? And I know James Doe is listening because he's always trying to get me to wear a suit, and that ain't about 17 minutes that one day, and that's about it. It came off real quick.
Well, I would have to say that fashion is all about expressing your personal individual personality. So if you guys love your denim and your black t-shirts, then that's what works for you, and that's great. Have I ever designed a full denim ensemble? I have not. Would I? Probably not. But I do love the simplicity of the Steve Jobs approach to fashion, and saying, of all the things I think about in a day, I don't want to think about what I'm putting on in the morning. I think there's a lot of wisdom behind that idea. And I did notice I like your SpaceX shirt, Tim. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, we wear this just so it doesn't necessarily like date the shows, so to speak. The only thing that dates the shows is during the COVID when our hair got progressively longer. And then we joke about that because if you look at all the thumbnails from each of the shows, it gets pretty ridiculous.
That's funny.
13 feet beards. It's interesting that you mentioned expressing oneself from a fashion perspective, and there's I don't know how to explain this, but like it sounds like females feel like they have to dress up a lot more than men maybe do in this world. Why is that? Why are females judged differently than men in the business world, or just in the world in general from their looks?
So I think it depends person to person and situation to situation, but I would say if you could envision someone walking on stage in tennis shoes, jeans, and a hooded jacket to present, or like, a hoodie, right? To present their product. And when it's Mark Zuckerberg, you say, you know what? He's credible. He's smart. But could you imagine if I walked up on stage in a black hooded jacket, jeans, and tennis shoes and said, hey, here's this great thing that I made. Everybody should buy it. I don't know if it would carry the same weight. So some of that may be I know this is something that's talked about very commonly, but the idea of imposter syndrome, of, maybe sometimes we overcompensate because we just assume that as women in a male dominated industry that we wouldn't be taken seriously unless we present ourselves seriously. And I think it's maybe a two-sided coin. But there are studies that show that a woman wearing navy blue or black is perceived to be more intelligent than a woman wearing any other color. And for men, there's no color association. I don't know. Maybe if you showed up in a pink suit or a tan suit. I think Barack Obama, when he was president, right, he got a lot of flack for his tan suit. So maybe this is something that men deal with as well, just in a different way.
Have you experienced that as you get? I'm assuming at some point you'll look to raise money, but as you're putting your pitches together and pitching people, have you experienced any?
So I've only had one, because I'm still in the process of going through the 757 accelerator, and I've only done one official pitch to an investor, and the feedback from this investor started with, I told the last woman I talked to the same thing. And then he proceeded to tell me what he told the last woman that he talked to. So which was to your point of taking 17 minutes to explain what my company does. He commented on succinct. You need to be succinct and captivating. So I'm working on my captivatingness and my succinctness, which is absolutely fair feedback. I talk a lot, so that's fair. I don't know how to be more captivating. So if you have any thoughts on that, but
I was
just going to say, in response to your question, I haven't been in front of a lot of investors. I've heard a lot of things, and there's a lot of statistically, a woman run company is statistically less likely to get venture capitalist investment than a male run company. That's in the numbers. How that plays out, I don't know. I haven't done it yet, so I guess we'll see.
I just go into every meeting assuming that I'm going to learn something, and the person that I'm talking to, I give the benefit of the doubt and hope that they are smarter than me. And like even going into this episode today, I'm like, gosh, yeah, you're clearly a very intelligent person, and I knew that I was going to have to put my thinking cap on to understand and really digest everything that you're talking about.
You never called me intelligent, Tim. You don't put your thinking cap on for me. Come on, man.
That is why we make a great team, Zach, because like
see, he's doubling down on it.
No. I just I appreciate the fact like so for me, I will I'll wait a little bit longer to try to let myself kind of process everything through, and then you're like, dude, what's a semiconductor? Like you're quick to ask the question, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Okay, so Jeana, still pronouncing that right, correct?
You are, yes.
Okay, just making sure. I want to make sure my notes are still good. What I would say, to your point from the investor saying succinctly, is that what you said? Or like
succinctly,
I would try to understand your audience first. And if you knew that they wouldn't know what that word or some of these words meant, dumb it down for them, right? So if you're in a crowd of people who know what semiconductor manufacturing is, you would be able to say that, right? And so I learned this, I think I created Virginia's first accelerator back in 2011. It was called Hatch. I was at our first demo day, and Chris Maku, who is the CTO of a company
I remember this phrase. Situational awareness.
Yeah, situational awareness. So this cat gets up there, and he's a chief technology officer. He's a better talker than his CEO, but all he does is talk in tech jargon, and not a damn person in the room understood him. Yeah. And I was like, okay, like you can't go up there and CTO this the entire time if everyone in the crowd isn't technical, right? And so it can be difficult in understanding who your crowd is beforehand, but if you can, and you can read that room pretty quickly, having maybe certain sets of words ready for those individuals would be better. So like my guess is at a demo day, it's not going to be a semiconductor demo day, right? So you're going to have to speak to these people who are like, well, what the hell is a semiconductor? Yeah. Right. And so speak in words that they would better understand. I think that would benefit you from that, so that you're not having to get them to be like, okay, well, I don't know what a semiconductor is. Right. I don't know what tier 3 is. Right. I see. So, and we're just inquisitive people. That's why Tim and I got to the bottom of it. But not everyone is inquisitive, and some people would roll off of that. Right. And say, well, I don't get it, so I'm out. When really it's pretty easy to understand once you get it. Yeah.
And that's why I asked for this, like the story aspect, just because people are visual learners and they learn through storytelling versus. But
I mean, really, it's hey, I got 10 years of experience in this world. I can't remember the exact words that you used for that. But I recognize that a lot of the 35% of our clients were taking 2 weeks to get that response time, because all of our time was spent on our bigger clients. But there was a huge hole here. I wanted to produce a product that would allow them to get those answers in 2 seconds instead of 2 weeks. Hi, I'm Jeana. I created ALN. Which, by the way, did you give us a name for ALN? What does it stand for?
ALN. Well, the product is called ReplyAI, which better speaks to what it does. I just haven't been able to trademark it yet. So once I can trademark it, we're going to make the transition to ReplyAI. So I'm glad this is recorded, because I may just take the pitch that you so succinctly just described there. So thank you, Zach. I appreciate that.
Bow down. You're welcome.
We've talked to a founder or two in our day. So you're prior military as well, and
I was a nuclear engineer for the Navy for 5.5 years before I jumped ship and came into the real world. But it was awesome.
As you can imagine, Zach, you've got to be You have to be pretty smart to get into that program. They don't just let anybody into that program.
I would hope not. Did you go to college? Or did you go to school at the Naval Academy, or like what are the?
I went to college at Marquette University, so I went through the ROTC program.
Oh, okay, a little Dwayne Wade action. Okay.
Dwayne Wade, yeah, he was before my time. But yeah.
I'm not allowed to ask how old you are. That's inappropriate, I've been told. So
I'm younger than Dwayne Wade, so I don't know how old Dwayne Wade was, but I think he was there 4 years before I
think we're the same age. I think he's 40. I don't know.
I don't know.
So is that Chicago? Is Marquette in Chicago?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
That's what I meant. Close.
They're kind of like cousin sisters, right?
Yeah.
Cousin cities.
Are you from Wisconsin?
I'm from Minnesota.
What part of Minnesota?
Farmington, Minnesota, about 20 miles south of St. Paul.
Okay.
Okay.
So one of my times when I was in the Air Force, I was in Grand Forks, North Dakota. So we would always go to the cities to like be reacquainted with civilization.
With civilization, yeah. Yeah, there's not much in North Dakota. But
no.
Minnesota, the Twin Cities, it's fun. It's
yeah. So we used to. That's where we go. I would go to Lollapalooza, and we go to First Avenue, and we would have a lot of fun in the cities.
Yeah.
Interesting. Have you ever been to Valley Fair?
I have been to Valley Fair. That was our field trip, our middle school field trip. Have you been to Valley Fair?
I haven't, but I used to be a roller coaster enthusiast.
Oh, okay.
So it's an amusement park. So at first I was thinking it was Worlds of Fun, but then I looked it up and I realized it was Valley Fair. I think it's a place that I probably wanted to go to back in the day, like high school, college time. But I think the furthest west my family went was Indiana. We went to this place called Santa Claus, Indiana Holiday World. But no, have never been there. But good times.
I don't know if Valley Fair is worth the trip. There's other things that may be worth the trip. But I mean, it was great for 12-year-old me. I loved it. But
did you go to WeFest?
WeFest?
I think that's one of the largest. I think that's in Minnesota. I think it's one of the largest. Like back in the day, it was like one of the largest country festivals.
Yeah.
Oh.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
So where is?
I did not.
I think it's in Detroit Lakes.
If they're watching this, they would be able to tell me. I'm sure. What's that?
I think it's in Detroit Lakes.
Oh, okay. WeFest.
Okay, so would you consider Minnesota the Midwest?
It absolutely is the Midwest. Yeah. Yeah. I would say it's the heart of the Midwest. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
How east is the Midwest?
The Mississippi goes through Minnesota and Wisconsin.
It starts in the Mississippi River starts from Lake Itasca, which is in northern Minnesota. So yeah, we are the literal.
Okay, but people thinking that Ohio. Do you think Ohio is the Midwest?
I think it's part of the Midwest, not as an important part as Minnesota is, but
how? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, okay, I'm not going to win this battle. Seems like it would be more like.
Are you confused because it's called the Midwest, but it's closer to the east than it is to the west?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I can see how the
where does the Midwest end going west? Colorado? Is that where it turns into the Rockies?
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I don't think people consider Colorado as the Midwest. They consider it, like the Rockies, right?
I would think that, like, if North Dakota to Wisconsin down, I could see being the Midwest. I could also see people calling that the Mideast in some aspects of that.
You described it that way because the thing that's between North Dakota and Wisconsin is Minnesota. So it would be the heart of the Midwest.
Yes, I'm saying that you're there. But for all these other donkeys that are like, Pennsylvania is part of the Midwest or whatever, I'm like, it is touching.
Yeah, I don't think that like when people call Michigan part of the Midwest, I don't know if I agree with that. It is Michigan is kind of it's a Great Lake state. Great Lake state. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been here not long. Like
Not very long.
how long? Like 18 months?
Year and a
Is that what
half.
you said?
Yeah, a little over a year. Yeah.
Did you do you have any decision in that, or the military's like you got to go there? That's the place, or do you guys get to pick different places? How does that work?
So in this instance, we didn't have a lot of choice. Given the option, we would have probably stayed in San Diego, but that just wasn't an option this time around. So for 16 years, my husband was able to stay in San Diego. So we've had a relatively, or I would say a comparatively, no military families that I know get to stay in the same place for 16 years. So we were really, really fortunate. And this time around, and this is his last, he'll retire here. And, but it's been a good move for us. We like the Hampton Roads area. And like I said,
This reminds me of Erica from Instant Teams, Tim. Like, and she's on like move 17 in like 10 years. It's like ridiculous. Okay. So now that you've been here this long and your relatives come in or some friends come in, where are you taking them to go get a bite to eat? Like, what's your go-to spot?
Oh my gosh, this is so funny. So we're in Virginia Beach, and we have small kids also. So we love Pungo Pizza because they have the back, game room. It's like a old family style, like carpet on the floor. It's like the best. It is, and it's great pizza. It's great food, and the kids can go and play in the arcade. And so it is not like the place to go and like the fancy place to go and take fancy visitors, but our visitors aren't very fancy, and that's the kind of stuff we like.
Shout out to Pungo Pizza, first time name drop on the show.
Yeah, it is funny. Like it takes me back when my kids were younger, that our favorite places were places that were really loud, so that way we weren't the distracting family that ruined everyone else's meal.
100%. That is the goal. Yes, we don't want to be the people that are ruining the experience for other people.
That's right.
So if you put a big buck hunter game in your restaurant, you can't be upset when people are making noise, right?
So is that where you live, around that area, the Pungo area?
Yeah, we live just outside of Pungo. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. So I've never been there, but remember Carl Clancy's, Tim? His family owns Blue Pete's, which apparently is a popular place in Pungo. I think that's
it is. Yeah, they have great food there.
Not good enough is Pungo Pizza.
That is good. Well, it's just quieter, right? People would go there and they like to enjoy the experience. They've got a great setup, but they're on the water. My kids would probably be like in the water. So
what do they have?
Oh, the bee and the biscuits right there.
Oh, the bee and the biscuit is so good. Yes. I don't take my kids there though.
Do they still do the strawberry festival down there?
Not this year. I've heard that since COVID, they don't do it anymore, but the signs are still up for it. Yeah.
Silly
that would draw
COVID.
a lot of people. So do you think that, so what's going to happen when your husband retires? Do you think you're going to stay in this area? You're going to go back to Minnesota? You're going to go back to San Diego? You hopefully stay here?
Yeah, I think we're going to try and stay here, especially now the kids are in school, consistency, and the consistency that we had out there. It's one thing. It's a big deal to move, for a lot of different reasons. So if we can avoid another move,
sucks.
That's what we're going to shoot for. And if you've ever spent a winter in Minnesota, I think you could genuinely understand why we probably won't go back there.
Is it true that they have tunnels that people through there and they actually don't go outside?
So in Duluth, the University of Minnesota Duluth, so that the students can go to class during the winter, you can tunnel from building to building because it's just so much snow and it's so cold. And you don't get snow days, right? Growing up there, there's 2 or 3 feet of snow on the ground. As long as the plows made it out in the morning, like you're still going to school,
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Make them kids go to school.
We're hardy.
So when someone does this, you get excited? No, I should not be Minnesotan.
I'm so sorry. Okay. I do not understand that reference.
Do you know what that is, Tim?
No.
Is that
what the Vikings? That's what the Vikings do when they go out.
Oh.
They do a skull. It's like this.
Yeah.
So fun fact about me, I have never been to a Minnesota Vikings game.
I can tell now.
So there you go. I may be the one and only Minnesotan that has not. But
Beautiful.
Yeah, I went to a
stadium.
couple Twins games, but I never went to a Vikings game when I was there.
Yeah. 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 The Twins. Yeah. The 1990s Homer Hanky. I think my brother had that in his room. My brother had that in his room until probably just a couple years ago.
Shout out to the Homer Hanky, whatever the hell that is.
Homer Hanky, 1990s World Series. Whoop, whoop.
Okay. All right. Shout out. Is this your first company ever?
This is my first company. Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I used to do a bunch of fashion shows, and I think I unofficially incorporated for that, but it was more of a hobby, less of a company. This is my first company.
Are you able to reflect back on those days as a fashionista and putting on the fashion shows and recognizing like, hey, here are the things that I did before that actually work on this side of the table too?
Yeah, what's really interesting, I feel like that was my first genuine sales experience before I had any sales experience, because I had to go and because this was I was in my early 20s. I had basically no money, right? So I had to get models, makeup artists, hair people to work for free, so that I could put the clothes on them, and then, negotiate with the venues to give me really cheap pricing so I could put on my shows. And so that was, I think, such a good lesson in negotiation, in how to connect with people and how to get people to buy into the vision. I mean, that was the biggest thing, right? I had no money. I can't pay you, but come along and do this with me, because it's going to be awesome for all of us. We're going to have a great time, and we're going to create something beautiful, right? So I think it was an invaluable experience from that perspective.
I always tell people to look back on the things in their life that might have a lot more parallels and helpful pieces to it. I was giving a talk a few days ago, and I basically just started reciting the alphabet. And I think people were looking at me like I'm a donkey, like, what the hell is this guy doing? And I said, but here's the thing. We learn that as kids, and it doesn't matter where we are. Like, we can still recite, hopefully, that entire thing. And so that muscle memory is something that is so incredibly important. And people, I don't think, grasp how much marketing they have to do for their business over and over and over again, like that of the alphabet as we were with kids, and it's just something that we would always know. The funny thing is, if you were to ask me to sing like that, the capitals and state song, like Juneau, Alaska, Phoenix, Arizona, that's all
I never knew that. There's a song for that?
Yeah, Tim. You New Yorkers, they don't teach you that?
How does it go?
I know. Juneau, Alaska, Phoenix, Arizona, the rest of the cities I can't recall. Like,
there's one for the states too. That's how I remembered the names of all the states.
Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas.
Yeah.
That's about all.
Do they do it alphabetically, or do they do it rhythmically?
Alphabetically, yeah.
I think it's alphabetically per state for both songs, not the city first, right?
Right.
Yeah. I'm sure your kids know this.
They had to have had one of those songs. Do they teach that anymore? I don't know.
I don't recall it. I know I didn't learn it, nor did my kids learn it.
It's just, more useless information that we don't need, that we learned in school. Who needs to know what all the cities are of the capitals of the states? I was joking. Obviously, that's important. We need to know where.
Well, the song, going back to what you said, Zach, the song could be really neat. You sing that song, and Jeana can then check a box for every state that she does business in, and
there you go.
That's the way to keep things going.
Yeah, and she would go back to all the different states that she does, except for Minnesota in the winter, because then it's too cold there.
Yeah, Minnesota in fall. That's the time to go. Like right now. Yeah.
Cold. It is definitely cold there.
Yeah.
He's cold already.
I just remember like that. Zach, that's when I had my Jeep, is when I was in North Dakota. And I just remember, so like you would have to plug your car in the wintertime. You're into a block heater so that to prevent your like engine oil from freezing.
Oh, wow.
And I just remember starting my vehicle some of those winter mornings, and it would not sound healthy. It was just, it would make some really, really funky noises. And no matter what, I mean, you can get your entire trip to wherever you got to go, and you would not even have heat in your car because your engine would not heat up enough to even produce heat. I mean, it was the coldest place I'd ever been.
And it's worse in Canada, right?
I would assume so.
I would assume so. Yeah.
Wow. Any final words?
Topic for another day.
Yeah. Any final words? Anything you want to talk about that we haven't talked about?
I really appreciate you guys having me on and let me talk about the company and everything you guys do in this ecosystem. I mean, it's being here a short time. It's really evident to see, how you guys are really creating an environment and providing resources for companies like mine that are trying to grow, trying to get traction. Don't know where to look, don't know where to get information, don't know how to, connect to all of these different resources that are available or even how to find them. So I just want to say thank you for everything you guys are doing and making all of this ecosystem happen and the resources giving us access to them. So
I appreciate you for stepping up and raising your hand at the opportunities that are provided. So many people don't do that. And so thank you for doing that. And the people that raise their hand find the success.
Well, I'll keep raising my hand.
It's the key to success. Pleasure seeing you again, Jeana. Glad the microphone worked this time. And we'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jeana.